Officer Robin Hellman, and this is Officer Charles Taylor. We are the SROs at your school. Today we are presenting the 11th grade drug and alcohol abuse program. And this is designed to target 11th graders because they are very close to graduating and going out into the real world. The first thing we want to talk about is drug and alcohol abuse. What it affects. It affects your physical and emotional well-being. It creates violence, and we have lots of issues with the abuse system, which causes many people to get arrested. It affects their career opportunities and limits your opportunities. These are the types of substances that we see a lot, that we see abused a lot. Obviously, alcohol in the teenage years is one of the top substances that are abused, as well as tobacco products. This over here is marijuana and a lot of the other illicit drugs like ecstasy, cheese, heroin, methamphetamines, which is the speed. The one in the middle are the ones that we don't think so much about. The over-the-counter drugs like Coracetin, a lot of the stuff that can be abused, cough syrups, that type of stuff. We see that working here some, that kids will abuse just over-the-counter medications. Alcohol. Alcohol is one of the most commonly abused substances among teenagers today. That should be no surprise to anybody. It's not a surprise to us. We have not seen much of that on the school campus, but we're talking just in generalities. It doesn't have to be hard alcohol like whiskey, tequila, or vodka. Beer and wine can be as big of a problem. You can be an alcoholic on beer and wine as you can be on whiskey and tequila and all the other hard alcohols that are out there. This is information on awareness. You know, someday as you get out into the world and you become a parent, you need to be aware that if there's alcohol in the house, it's not available to the children in the house, as well as your younger brothers and sisters, other family members. Awareness is a big key to prevention, as is with the over-the-counter drugs or prescription medicine that you may have in the house. Awareness. If you see a family member and you notice that they're, drinking lots of cough syrup, you got to say to yourself, what's going on here? So one of the things that we really target are the awareness. Parents need to be aware of products that are packaged to appeal to the youth that may contain alcohol. I know that you guys have seen this. We have seen this out in the community. The Four Locos, the Liquid Charge, Spark, Juice, all of the different packages that are really illegal substances like alcohol. These are some of the examples of what they come in. I mean, it looks just like your energy drinks. We see a lot of this, I work at the quinceañeras and the ballrooms and that kind of stuff, and we do see some of this with the youth in our community. Alcohol pops and the now powdered alcohol are things that are just now really getting to be more popular and that we're seeing. Examples of alcohol pops are Mike's Hard Lemonade, Smurf Ice, Sky Blue, Bacardi, all of the different, little bottle drinks. Underage girls drink alcohol pops more than any other type of alcoholic beverages. You'll be surprised, I've been working in the schools for a long time, how many kids are truly alcoholics by the time they graduate high school. It's really a sad statistic, because you think, oh, this is not going to affect me. These kids start really young. When you start talking about 12 years old, you're talking, 6th grade? 7th grade? And some of these kids are doing it now in elementary school. They have access to it. We've had kids in elementary who have gotten high. So if you think about it, the age is getting younger and younger and younger, and less awareness, less people who will stop and say, hey, no, that ain't right. And you need to get involved. There are gateway drugs. You have to try one thing to go on to the next thing. And gateway drugs are alcohol and cigarettes and marijuana. Those are the 3 gateway drugs that start the process. Nobody just goes up to shooting heroin. You start with something small and then it's like accepted, and then you move on to something that's accepted, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and out of control. These are again examples of the alcopops that are out there that, a lot of this stuff can look like something else, just regular drinks that are out there, but these all contain alcohol. Over-the-counter drugs. The over-the-counter drugs they're a lot abused. We have seen them taking large amounts of like Coricidin and these Tylenol PMs and to get the high on. Tylenol PMs used to go with the heroin, and they're making cheese from it. Tons of different combinations that they're using with these over-the-counter drugs. This is another gateway, because once you start this, then you have to do something else to get what you're feeling there. So you see, they'll use Tylenol PM and alcohol, which are two depressants and the same thing. We see the Tylenol PM and the heroin, which are also two depressants. We see fatalities from the heroin and the Tylenol PM, whereas they've depressed their body and it shuts down and it causes them to stop breathing. So this becomes, they do have a good purpose if you are sick, but they are also very, very abused and misused. Illegal substances. The most commonly abused illegal substances that we see in school: marijuana. We're getting a lot of N-bomb. You all aware what N-bomb is? It's a synthetic LSD. LSD is a hallucinogen. It makes you think and feel things that are not there. Lots of N-bomb. Marijuana, often, we get that often. Students that are smoking across the street, they get high, they smell like marijuana, they get brought to us. We make a lot of arrests on marijuana. Speed, of course, that's always been a big problem, though we don't see that here very much. The heroin problem is a lot less. The ecstasy we see, not so much on students, but out in the community a lot. These are examples of what they look like. Obviously the marijuana, the blunts, the rolls for the sniffing of the cocaine. These here look like sweet tarts in a sense, you know what I mean? But these are the ecstasy, and we see this a lot. Heroin's gotten to be a huge problem. It started back maybe about 5-6 years ago, and we have had a bunch of people who died from the use of heroin. It's very sad. Illegal drugs. Of course, in the teenage years, you're going to have a lot of mood swings, all three of those. Mood swings, defiance, and change of friends. That's pretty common in your group right now. But if you have a friend and you start seeing that they're becoming so different, and you're thinking, what is going on? The first thing we surface with parents, if all these things are happening, your kids' grades are suffering, they're missing school, you need to have them checked. Get them checked. Suggest that. Get them checked. Because the chances are that they're using something they shouldn't be using. Okay, of course, the smell of marijuana, we get that up here a lot. If you see someone who's got packets of the blister pack pills, the Coricidins, the Advil, the Tylenol PM, those are all red flags. Money missing, this we get a lot. They steal from their parents. This correlation between violence and teen drug use, you see a lot of that when we go on calls for people at home, where their teen is now, assaulting the parents, hitting their brothers and sisters. They get confronted with your behavior's different, your grades. It all goes hand in hand. As soon as you start missing school and your grades start slipping, then your parents start getting on your case, and then it causes a chain reaction. We see a lot of kids who are involved with drugs get more and more aggressive and more violent towards their parents. 45.6% of teens abusing one drug engage in violent acts. Abuse of 3 or more drugs increased the rate to 61.9. That's a lot. And we do see that. And we go out on calls like that. We go out on calls where their kids are refusing to come to school because they're up all night long. They're out running the streets. Again, all those behaviors are very interwoven with drug use. Causes: violent teens who abuse drugs and alcohol engage in violence more frequently than violent teens who do not use drugs. That means, if if you already have a propensity to be violent, you have an anger management problem, and you add drugs to that, which takes any kind of self-control out, you see those violent teens become more violent. And those who wouldn't normally be violent become violent because of all the things we just talked about. And we see that individual acts, things that they wouldn't normally do, really hurt somebody or kill somebody because they don't have those filters, those blocks, that you normally would have because they're on drugs. Teens who exhibit antisocial and risk-taking behavior gravitate towards violence, substance abuse, and other risky and illegal behavior. We see that a lot. You see that in the sports figures. You see that with people who are very successful and they start using dope, and the next thing you know is they're getting arrested, they're fighting, they're doing all kinds of illegal stuff. Suicide. Teens who abuse alcohol or drugs commit suicide with greater frequency than teens who avoid substance abuse. Again, the blocks aren't there to tell you that's not the right thing to do. Up to 70% of completed teen suicide cases involve drug abuse or alcohol. And that's true in adults too. Solution. Not only parents, but us as a community. You. Because you're part of the community and you're fixing to be adults out there in the world, whether you're at college, whether you're in the workforce. You need to help. We need to work together to provide stable home environments and taking threats seriously, reporting when you know somebody's volatile or that they're using drugs. And the hardest thing to get people here to do is to report. Our job is to help keep kids safe. And that's hard to do if you're not getting a lot of information. Your younger brothers and sisters, we're all responsible for them as a community, and you yourself watch for changes in their behavior, grades, their secrecy, and you got an idea when your brothers and sisters aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing and something's up. Again, teens using illicit substances may suddenly start using incense or deodorizers in their rooms, in their cars. Of course, when we go up to the cars and they've smoked weed in it, they're not using anything, it just smells like weed. Borrow or steal money, that's definitely a red flag. And catching drug abuse early lowers the risk of a spiral into increasingly serious substance abuse and violent acts. I'm telling you, once they get hooked into this drug world, it's very hard to get somebody sober. It is very hard. Even here, when they take kids out of here, they put them in rehab. One of our suggestions is don't bring them back here because you're right back in the same environment that led you to getting into that to start with. It's a cycle, and you'll see people who are alcoholics, they'll get sober, and then it just takes one thing, and they're right back in it. It's very, very, very difficult to keep somebody who's gotten into this world to get them out and to keep them on the right path. Also, if you get caught with any kind of illegal drug, let's start from that. If you get caught and you get arrested for it, you guys that are 17 or above, that becomes a permanent criminal history. That can be detrimental to any kind of job that you want to get for the future. If it's a felony job, you can forget military, government job, fireman, police, anything like that. You can have no felony convictions on your record. And we'll tell you this as well. Even if you do not get caught, most jobs are now drug screening and also interviewing for that. The police department, I know for a fact, we do an interview process and ask you, have you ever used any illegal drugs? If you come back and say, well, I did cocaine once, or my friend had a ecstasy pill, which is felony 1 drug, and I took it, that eliminates you. You're closing doors on opportunities. And they polygraph for that. So they send you to the polygrapher to see if you're telling the truth. And that may end opportunities. You can't be a doctor, you can't be a nurse. I'm talking about closing doors on a lot of opportunities if you choose to get involved in that. Now, that is our program on alcohol and drug abuse for today. Does anyone have any questions about any of this? Good, then I must have presented